What if I told you that a 1% improvement per day could quietly change your entire life in a year? Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to track those tiny wins and finally see real progress. Here's the promise. You're going to learn a simple system to notice, measure, and celebrate small daily improvements so you stop feeling stuck and start feeling unstoppable, even on your most boring days. Maybe you know this feeling. You work, you try, but at the end of the day you think, did I actually move forward? That's exactly why tracking tiny improvements is a game changer. Let's start with the biggest mindset shift. First idea, progress is almost never loud. It's quiet, small, and boring. But when you write it down, it becomes visible. So your first step is decide one area of your life you want to improve by just 1% each day. Pick one. Maybe your health, your focus, your mood, or your learning. Tiny tracking works best when you don't try to change everything at once. One clear target, one simple metric, one tiny daily action you can actually repeat. Now you need a super simple tracking tool. No fancy app needed. A piece of paper, a notebook, or a basic grid you draw yourself. The key is, it must be so simple you can update it in under 30 seconds each day. Create one line for each tiny habit or improvement you want to track. For example, read 10 pages, walk 5 minutes, journal 3 lines. You're not chasing perfection, you're just counting tiny wins that compound over time. Next, you set your minimum version of success. That means the smallest possible action that still counts. Not 30 minutes of reading, just 5. Not a long workout, just a short walk. Make it almost too easy to fail. Why? Because the brain loves wins. Each tiny success you track sends a subtle "you're winning" signal. And the more wins you see on your page, the more your identity shifts from "I'm stuck" to "I'm someone who shows up every day." Here's the magic. Don't only track whether you did it or not. When possible, track the smallest measurable number. Pages read, minutes walked, glasses of water. Tiny numbers are fine. What matters is the direction, not the size. At first, it feels pointless. You'll think, does this even matter? But keep going. After 7 days of tiny tracking, you start to see a pattern. You're not failing every day. You're actually building a quiet streak of effort. Now let's talk about streaks. Streaks are powerful, but they can also be dangerous if you're perfectionistic. So here's the rule. Never miss twice. If you skip a day, your only job is to show up the very next day, even with the tiniest effort. To support this, create a gentle backup version of each habit. Example, if you're tired, instead of 10 pages, read 1 page. Instead of a long walk, stretch for 1 minute. As long as you track it, the chain of improvement stays alive. Let's make it visual. Draw a simple progress line that slightly goes up over weeks, not days. Each day you show up, you add a small dot. Some dots are higher, some a bit lower, but the general direction is forward and upward. As you track tiny daily improvements, your brain starts to ask a new question. How can I get just 1% better today? Not perfect, not amazing, just better than yesterday by the smallest visible amount. Here's an example. Instead of get fit, you track, did I move my body today? Even 3 minutes count, check. Over time, those 3-minute days add up into hours, your energy grows, and your identity shifts without brutal willpower. Another example, learning. Track minutes of focused learning, not finish the book or master the skill. 2 minutes? It counts. You're training your brain to show up, not to crush impossible expectations. And for emotional well-being, track one thing I'm grateful for, or one time I paused before reacting. These tiny emotional reps are just as important as physical or mental ones. They build calm and self-respect. To keep your motivation alive, celebrate visually. Maybe you draw a simple star for each day you showed up, or color one box in your grid. Your brain loves color and symbols, even childish ones. They tell you, look, you're doing it. Important, never punish yourself on your tracking page. No crosses, no angry notes. Your page is a scoreboard of effort, not a judge. If you miss, just leave it blank and add a calm note. Tomorrow, I try again. Once a week, review your tiny data. Ask, where did I improve even a little? Where am I stuck? Then you adjust gently. Maybe you make one habit even smaller so you can stick to it, or you increase another by just a tiny step. Over a month, tiny tracking reveals a story you would have missed. You see that your worst days were still better than your old normal. You realize your new floor is higher than your old ceiling, all thanks to micro improvements. Here's a powerful mental trick. Instead of asking, "Am I successful yet?" ask, "Am I improving, even slightly?" Your tracking sheet becomes proof that you are in motion, not stuck. That feeling alone kills a lot of anxiety. You'll notice that some days feel like a big leap, others like a tiny shuffle. Both count. The line of progress doesn't need to be straight. It just needs to go generally up and to the right when you zoom out. Soon, you start to protect your streaks. You think, "I don't want to break this chain of tiny wins." That's where long-term change really begins, not in huge motivation bursts, but in not wanting to disappoint your future self. To keep this fun, you can gamify it. Give yourself a small reward after a certain number of tracked days. Not a huge prize, just a pleasant signal. "Nice, I kept my promise." Rewards keep your brain excited about showing up. Remember, tracking is not about controlling everything. It's about noticing. When you notice you're improving, you naturally want to continue. When you notice you've slipped, you can adjust before it becomes a big problem. By now you can see it. Tiny daily improvements, when tracked, turn into visible momentum. You're no longer guessing, you're collecting proof. That proof becomes confidence, and confidence makes the next small step even easier. So here's your challenge. Tonight, decide one area, choose one tiny habit, and create one simple way to track it. Start tomorrow, just one check mark, then another, then another. Watch how your life quietly shifts. If you stay until the end of this video, here's your reward, a new identity. You're no longer someone who tries. You're someone who improves every single day, even in tiny ways. And that's how big transformations really begin.